what is the glory of God? What does it mean? What does it look like? Sometimes when I come to a place with a view like this, I can't help but think of God's glory. I can't help but think of how beautiful God is if this is His creation, if this is what He has made. But God has revealed His glory in different ways to us. When God appeared to Moses on Mount Sinai, it says that when he came down from the mountain, his face shone with the glory of God. But Moses couldn't show his face, couldn't display the glory of God that was now upon him as it had come upon him on the mountain when he met with God. Now, I don't know about you, but one of my great desires is to see the glory of God, to experience the glory of God, to know the glory of God. Because it says that the glory of God is what transforms us, it changes us. But Paul says in 2 Corinthians chapter 3 that whenever Moses was read, it was the people's hearts and minds that were veiled, that couldn't understand what was being said about the glory of God. So you see, the issue is not whether the glory of God is present, whether the glory of God is revealed. The issue is whether or not we can perceive it and can understand it. You see, when I look at this view, I can't help but think about the glory of God. I can't help but think about how it shows me something of God's presence, God's power, God's beauty, God's order, God's love for His people. To me, all of those things are absolutely obvious in a view like this. But for someone else, they'll look at that view and say, it was created by chance. It doesn't reveal anything about anything. You see, it's not so much about whether the glory is revealed, it's about whether or not we can understand and perceive it. Now, in that same passage in 2 Corinthians chapter 3, Paul goes on to say that it is where the Spirit of the Lord is that there is freedom. And then he goes on to say that we are being transformed into the image of His glory. We are being transformed little by little from glory to glory. And so, as much as a view like this, for me, is a demonstration of the glory of God, what Paul is actually saying is the greatest demonstration of the glory of God are the people of God. It is the people of God being transformed by freedom into the image of Christ. That is a revelation of the glory of God. So when I pray, Lord, show me your glory, I don't go hunting for beautiful sunrises or sunsets as much as I can enjoy them and love them. But when I pray, Lord, would you show me your glory? What I'm praying for is to see a transformed people of God. So when we're praying that God would show us His glory, when we're praying that God would reveal His glory, we're praying that we would reflect His glory. We're praying that other believers will reflect His glory, that we will become more and more like Jesus. And so I want to ask you, as you pray that prayer, what are we doing to encourage the freedom of the Spirit? Because that's the point that Paul makes. He says, where the Spirit of God is, there is freedom. And it's in that freedom, it's in that liberty that the glory of God is able to break through into people's lives. So much of the church, so much of church doctrine has been about control and manipulation, about trying to make people be the people we want them to be, and that is completely contrary to the gospel. The gospel is the gospel of freedom that says, give space for the Spirit of God to work and people will be transformed into the image of Christ. The glory of God will break out in the place where there's freedom. And so I want to encourage you, believers, I want to encourage us church, I want to encourage us church leaders. Are we creating a space for the freedom of the Spirit so the glory of God can be manifested through God's people? So this week I want to encourage you, in whatever you do, make space for the freedom of the Spirit of God, and let's see the glory of God break out into our lives, into our homes, into our churches. I hope you're encouraged. I hope you are strengthened, and I hope to see you guys again next time.